Don't visit Italy in 2026 without knowing this. These are 39 practical Italy travel tips that will not only save you money, but time and stress, especially if you're traveling as a family. So it is super important to know that Italy is, above all, beautiful, but it can also be overwhelming, expensive, and frustrating if you don't know how it works, especially for families that are trying to travel on a budget. We had traveled to Italy as a family. We spent 3 weeks there. We did not do a luxury travel. We did real, practical, budget-conscious traveling as a family of 6 with 4 kids. And these are the tips that we wish someone had handed us before our trip that I'm going to share with you. So if you are a busy parent, if you are a first-time Italy traveler, or you are a family planning a trip to Italy in 2026, or if you are anyone who doesn't want to waste money on mistakes, then this is for you, and I'm so glad you found this video. And if this is exactly what you want for your family, then go ahead and hit subscribe. So before you go to Italy, we need to talk about your planning and the mindset behind it. Italy rewards prepared travelers, and it punishes its unprepared ones, okay? So let's talk about why. First things first, don't overpack. You're gonna walk more than you think. Book your high-speed trains early in advance, and this matters more than people realize. You want to travel your shoulder seasons whenever possible, and apartments are going to be better than hotels for families. And apartments, this can also include Airbnbs. You want to expect smaller spaces and older buildings. This is key for setting up the right expectations and the mindset before you go and before you get there. And you want to plan slower. Italy is not a checklist country. It is a slow down and enjoy it country. So for transportation and getting around, trains. Trains are the fastest and cheapest method of getting to point A to point B, or from city to city. You want to book directly with either Italo or Trenitalia, okay? We personally use Trenitalia, but I hear they're both really interchangeably good for those two companies. People don't always realize booking directly saves money. And if anything happens, you now have direct communication without having to go through a third-party company that actually bought you the tickets, which is super crucial if you're standing there in the train station and you need help. They won't really refuse you because you bought it somewhere different. And you want to reserve your seats on your train with kids because you don't want to end up separated from your kids on a train in Italy. That's just gonna suck, okay? Do not rent cars unless necessary. The streets are narrow, there's lots of pedestrian-only zones, and Italian drivers are a little crazy, okay? So you don't want to do this unless you're experienced driving, especially in Europe. There are ZTL zones that will destroy your budget with fines. We actually had an unforgettable experience with our driver who tried to cut corners and avoid paperwork, and I actually ended up in the police station for an hour filling out forms and a statement. And we missed our boat to go to our Airbnb in Venice because our driver tried to cut corners and got hit with fines, and cops were swarming us in the parking spot as soon as we parked because his license plate gave it away, okay? We didn't do anything wrong, the driver did, but it did affect our trip. So use cars really for rural areas only. Public transportation is great. The buses and the metros are super family friendly. Just keep your purses in front of you so that you stay free from any potential pickpocketers. You want to validate your tickets every time. Just because you bought your tickets in advance doesn't mean that you can just jump on the train. There are little yellow and other colored ticket machines. You have to go and validate that ticket before you can get onto your train. And the apps are better, and the apps are just so much more accurate. So don't always rely on paper maps, and it takes up more space. Use your app. Family budget tips for your accommodations. What actually saves you money, okay? You want to stay outside the main historic centers. This is where most families overspend time and time again. You want to use your walkable neighborhoods with transit access that are not directly in the historic main areas. So you want to look for also apartments and units that have elevators, washing machines, and kitchens. And a side note, just because you have a washing machine, your line might be outside of your window. And so you have to hang over your window to use your clothesline. It might not always be a clothes rack inside. And that is an important little tidbit to note. And make sure that your apartment has a kitchen as well. Because if you're going to get an apartment, those are two must-haves, a kitchen and a washing machine. Otherwise, there's no point in having an apartment. You want to avoid overpriced tourist hotels. You want to avoid moving cities every 1 to 2 nights. That is going to increase your budget. Don't do it. The more you move, the more fees you pay, the more city taxes you pay, the more tourist taxes you pay, and the cleaning fees add up. And avoid paying extra for breakfast if you're not going to eat. Don't pay extra for an adult meal if only a kid's gonna just graze and eat, especially if you're staying at a hotel. Use wisely and don't always pick the included breakfast that comes with it for a price if they're going to not give you a good deal that accounts for children. And sometimes we've negotiated that 2 kids that are really young can be just 1 kid because they're barely going to eat. And so you can negotiate some if you are in person. Wait to book it until you go to check in, and then you have a little bit more flexibility and wiggle room. Again, this is hotel only. So some food tips that save families money. Eating smart. 1 restaurant meal per day. This tip alone will save you hundreds of dollars. I'm shouting it from the rooftop, people, okay? I know it's easy. You're on vacation. You want to go to the restaurants. But don't eat out for every single meal. Locals don't do it. Nobody does that because it's not affordable. And if you want to be able to go on a vacation on a budget and you don't want to blow your bank, follow this advice. Grocery stores for budgets, light snacking, and even lunches. You can even throw together a simple dinner like a grilled chicken and a side salad or a simple pasta, okay? And bakeries are your best friends for breakfast and even light snacking during the day. You want to skip the tourist menus. The people that are out there on the street trying to call you in, they're approaching you, they're out there trying to talk to you to come in. Don't go there. They're expensive and they're not authentic, and the flavor is not going to be as good, and they will be more expensive. So avoid the tourist menus. And you want to also avoid the restaurants that have the big pictures, the big photos of the food on the menus. That's a big red flag, a big sign that says, I'm a tourist trap. Do not go into the menus with giant photos of the pictures on them. And you also don't want to dine near major attractions because that's gonna hike the price up a lot. Maybe do it like once a week, have your 1 big meal a week, but don't do it every single day or even every 2, 3, whatever it is, okay? Just don't do it. So your family wins here the most by your kids being able to share meals, by going somewhere that the proportions are maybe a generous size and it's not the small little bougie, pretty, pristine plates. And your water fountains are free. They are all through Italy. There's water going everywhere. It's from the underground aqueducts. It is clean water. It's safe. It's drinkable, and it is free. So fill up your water bottles. Bring your reusable water bottles with you to save money. So for your attractions and tickets, you want to avoid lines and you want to avoid overspending. So how do you do this? You do this by booking your major attractions in advance. And as a busy mom, this is going to save you frustration on the ground once you're already in Italy. You want to also try to look for free museum days and use those. Take advantage of those. And a lot of churches are often free as well. So our family strategy here is we personally pick 1 to 2 paid attractions per city, and it's going to depend on how long we're there. Maybe we're there for a week, okay? You want to balance your free walking tours and your park so that you can break it up and you see the free walking tours, jot them down, put them into your Google Maps and decide how far away are they and map them out strategically with parks in between from point A to point B, and do your own free walking tour that works for your family with stops in between. And above all, do not overschedule your day. Take your most important things, get them done in the morning, and leave the afternoon with some wiggle-free time. So traveling to Italy with kids, this is the things that the parents should know. Italians love kids. Playgrounds are everywhere, but just know Italians don't always see large families, okay? So they might say, oh, Are you having any more? I had a grandma come up to me and tell me, basta, 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 stop, no more. You're not allowed to have any more kids. And I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, they're not used to seeing large families, especially I look relatively younger back then. So she thought I was really young. I had all these kids, and so she was very concerned for me. So sometimes we even were asked, are they all yours? I was like, no, we just steal them on random streets. Just kidding, kidding, okay? So they don't always are familiar with seeing super large families, so that's something to know. And late dinners are super normal here, okay? So you need to adjust your expectations for dinner. Probably one of the biggest things to do, okay? This is a huge adjustment that families need to know and prepare for in advance. Early 5 p.m. dinners are not always possible because kitchens don't always open sometimes until much later. It could be 6, 7, or 8. And it's very, very normal to see families eating and even hear them from your apartment windows starting at like 9 or 10 p.m. and going until like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., just all sitting down having dinner together. And some kids are there too. So just know that the dinner is totally different. So adjust the eating schedule maybe before you get there so it's not a giant change and impact. So what makes this easier? The things that make this easier are snacks always on hand, right? Happy life, snacks. Slower pacing, don't rush, and walkable bases are also super important. Your money, your safety, and your common mistakes. Your biggest money tips: cards are widely accepted, carry small amounts of cash, and avoid currency exchange booths because you will get hit with high fees. The mistakes to avoid here are over planning, underestimating how much walking you're going to be doing, and adding too many amazingly beautiful cities in during one trip, which I know is really hard to do, okay, because you want to see them all. It's Italy, but don't squeeze too many in. You're gonna hate it. And you don't want to ignore your rest days. Cherish those with your family. Our final Italy tips for 2026. Italy does not need to be expensive. You don't need luxury to have a rich experience. And practical planning is key here. You want freedom. You want to know how to do that is also your key here. And if you want help planning your trip to Italy, just let me know. I love trip planning. If you want the tools that we use to travel Italy and Europe on a budget as a family, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and press like so other families can get this channel too and this great information. And be sure to watch the next video and grab the packing list linked into the comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.
Venice, the beautiful Italy.